It's a commercial truth community. There's no intention behind it. There's nothing that the truther community is truthful towards. Most of society and most of consciousness is living in a world or in a realm of illusions and lies. And then there is a certain group of people that have went around the world with this idea of monkey evolution and this idea of old humans and new humans. And the new humans are based upon a plastic, glass, and metal reality. And also it's based upon this linear interpretation of science and math and unveiling these quantum realms of this reality. All that stuff is just extra, because what that really boils down to is the authority of intellect, the authority of information. So it doesn't matter what they say. It's a matter of how they are installing in your consciousness what it is that they're saying. For example, this: if you see something, say something. You see that and you're like, yeah, right? That's a good thing. Yeah, you should let people know. If you see something, say something. But it doesn't get into the consciousness of fear that is pumped into society. So like in our community or in our policing of ourselves, this shit is obvious. If you see something, say something. This shit is obvious. If we were policing ourselves, this would be obvious. But the system of policing, the authoritative system, isn't, they're not interested in true security. They're interested in profit based upon security. So if they have a whole bunch of people causing more security issues by having more fear installed in their reality, that brings money into the system. That brings more authority into the system. So by that meaning, when they put these signs out there, it makes them look like they are the heroes of the universe. They are your saviors. They are your, you are codependent upon them or it. They're responsible. So this is why the system has to constantly install itself into your reality. It's kind of like how, and I use this term, obviously, white people, how they always stick their fucking nose in somebody else's business, or you can't do anything. Like, I'm obviously generally speaking, but, and like I've said in previous videos, white is it's a consciousness, it's an identity that affects the way people act, the way people feel, the way people see other people. So with this sign, you say, if you see something, say something. Well, when this sign exists, people are now looking for more things to see. And when they are looking for more things to see, since they have been triggered, what are they looking for? They are looking for the other triggers that the same system that put this sign up told them to look for. So what does the mainstream news and the local news tell you to look for? It tells you to look for brown-skinned Mexican people who are robbers, who are rapists, everything that Trump has been saying. So this is the depths of the mind control that comes into play, that is completely outside of the linear, you're divisive, you're racist conversation that's out there. They're not even in the conversation yet. They're not even in the room to have the conversation that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the macro and the micro. So the same, this is how this translates over to the idea of micro and the macro. So in this case, if you see something, say something, for us it's obvious. But on the macro scale, what does this sign do? What is it doing to our reality? So the same way that New Agers approach my channel or me individually, when they say, you're racist and you're divisive, I'm not talking about the individuals who are acting out the macro mind control programs. I'm talking about the very existence of the macro mind control programs that do exist. And those situations, those observations are not being addressed or analyzed because the linear interpretations of the individuals cannot get out of their own personal, emotional, whatever it is, attachments to the micro. They cannot get out of the cloud of their own ego in order to see the depths of what I'm really talking about when I'm addressing the macro. The macro is what will allow us to see and eventually heal the micro on a higher velocity, at a higher velocity. Because right now, people are trying to build everything back up, like basically reinvent the wheel. So they're piecing together things like one stick at a time. This is kindergarten talk. This is basic interpretations of reality. This is what our ancestors had already broken down over and over and over again. This is why I'm saying that these new age teachers that or whoever, whatever you want to call them, that are out there are a part of the system, because they are inherently disrespecting the work that has already been done by taking ownership over something that you can't put any linear attachments on. This is like the information that is out there involving the realms of spirituality have been gone over hundreds and thousands of years already. And you have people to this in this day, in this moment, reading a few books, seeing a few YouTube videos, listening to a few lectures talking about they are spiritual. They understand the spiritual nature of the universe. Get the fuck out of here. So this is how it breaks down. If you see something, say something. Obviously, we need to come together. We need to be one. We're all one this and we're all one that. Obviously, on a level of non-physicality, we are ... Everything that the new age is loving and cherishing and promoting and, you know, what is the word? Basically priding itself in. It's priding itself in the obvious nature or the obvious observations of a spiritual interpretation of reality. And when you say the not so, when you bring to the surface the not so obvious information that goes into a deeper layer of spirituality, you will now threaten the linear interpretations of the spirituality that exists inside the individuals. That becomes a threat, because what those linear interpretations of spirituality have done is they have turned the evolution of consciousness into a prescription drug. So anything that they encounter needs to be hit with whatever they have learned from their prescription drug, spiritual consciousness reality, what they think is spiritual consciousness. And in some level it is. Obviously, everybody is growing at their... So in that world, it is. The only thing is that I'm saying, and I'm bringing to the surface, is that there is a level of stagnance that happens once you start to utilize these tools and perspectives as tools to basically cover up the potholes of your reality. So instead of being aware of the road and fixing the road, people are just driving around the potholes in the road talking about, look how free we are. Everything is about freedom. We're all the same. Everybody can drive on the road. I got a bucket vehicle too. We're all poor. It's like, hold on. You're missing the point. So that's the other rationale that people add to it. It's like, we're all poor. We're all one. We're all the same. And what they're saying is, now that I've said all the good stuff and you're the bad guy, now you should listen to what I say. Now they are the leaders of, you know, what should happen in moving forward. And what I'm saying is that the new age community is being used to act as that spiritual buffer or pillow or whatever you want to call it for the mainstream new age community that's coming up in this 2020 presidential election bullshit or selection bullshit. This is why I go to the depths of a lot of these breakdowns, is because these interpretations won't be seen or heard unless somebody brings them to the surface. Like this it's not right in your face, even though it's right in your face when you see something like this, if you're not looking for it. See, I'm looking for it because I've been paying attention to this stuff, and now it's obvious for years. It's been around us our entire lives. So it's just a matter of tweaking the way that we perceive what is hitting us and observing the way it's been calibrated to hit us. See, that's the thing. We just see what is hitting us. We don't see the calibrators. We don't see the people who are programming these programs. We just see the robots. We see all of the side effects to the computer programmers, the coders. This is what I'm talking about. You want to do whatever change or whatever. If you want to change yourself, are you gonna, you know, like what they say, if you want to change your spirit, are you going to like wash your skin? Is that it? Are you going to take a bath? Is that going to do anything for your spirituality? Or are you going to take an internal bath? Or how do you do that? Like what does that mean? So what's happening is people are taking external, internal baths in the New Age community. So they're sitting in a room called internal bath, and they're washing themselves with the waters of the internal observations of reality. They're still washing their external versions of themselves, thinking that they have now achieved some kind of higher consciousness because they used to be dirty, but now they're clean. You see how all this is happening now? They used to be this person and now they're not that person. It's the commercial version of spiritual evolution to make you think that you can just, if you just take a bath, then you're going to be an evolved higher consciousness. And that's not how it is. No. And that's why the whole world has been hit with all this garbage and dirt and just mud and nonsense and lies for so long. Because if people are living on garbage and dirt and dust and bullshit, then you only have to give them like one French fry, one little pebble of something, and then they'll be like, oh, that's amazing. So the New Agers are getting New Age French fries, meditation, yoga, crystals, changing your diet. Like all this stuff it matters. It's a reality. It exists, but it's only based upon one version of reality that is very linear and limited to this realm for the most part. So I just wanted to share that piece with people, this idea of the micro versus the macro. When you're listening to truther channels, for the most part, you're listening to people talk about micro storylines, individual things. And then at the end of the individual thing, everybody feels good because they now have a higher or a more expansive observation of that micro storyline, but they still, so that's enough. That's enough. So people just go from one micro storyline and one evolution of a micro storyline to the next evolution of another micro storyline. But what most people are avoiding are the macro storylines, which all those micro storylines fit within.